Hey everybody, this is Jake from the podcast. We're unlocking a Patreon episode for you today. This is our Patreon episode on Moneyball that we recorded, about 6 months ago. We think it turned out real nice, so we thought we'd share it with everybody there on the main feed because, frankly, Ian and I both have new jobs and we're so tired. I didn't know you could be this tired, and neither did he, and he knew about getting really tired. So we hope you enjoy this. For the Patreon listeners, we're sorry about what's happening. But if you listen to this and you like this sort of thing, you'd like to hear more of it, you can go over to patreon.com/podcasty for me, where for $5 a month, we do this every other week. We talk about movies that are not explicitly by the guys that we cover on the show, but in the very similar manner to how we talk about the movies by the guys that we do cover on the show. Does that make any sense? Anyway, the jobs that we got are as gang stalkers. If you've ever heard of gang stalking. We're some of the guys that sit in the black Chevy Suburbans with rental plates and follow 55-year-olds from Illinois around at all hours of the night and just look at them while they're in the grocery store and stuff. So that's what Ian and I are doing, and we're getting paid really well. But it's, it's tiring work. So anyway, we hope you enjoy our Patreon episode on Moneyball. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with our regularly scheduled Sodcasty for me. Hey everybody, welcome to Paid Costly For Me. This is the podcast from a premium feed. This is where we cover Clint Eastwood and Steven Soderbergh related films and ephemera. We thank you for supporting the show. We don't run ads. We are listener supported. Paying for this premium feed helps us make the public feed. We're doing a sort of Moneyball style model.
We're finding market inefficiencies on two dumpy losers.
Look how fucking fat and ugly this guy is, but through a freak of statistics, he seems to get the episodes up, and it turns out consistent release is basically the only thing that builds an audience.
Yeah, yep. And in
Ian's
fact,
audience actually prefers the inconsistency of his release.
That's right. They like the surprise.
Cottage cheese today.
Oh God.
Sorry.
Okay. Look at the original Moneyball. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, what? That's bull testicle, I think.
Oh yeah,
the original Moneyball.
Rocky Mountain Ball.
You know about how bull semen is the most valuable commodity per ounce or per gram or whatever in the world because you need so little of it because it's microscopic?
I've heard that. I don't know if that's true though. It's one of those things that's kind of true depending on how you think about it. There's definitely rare earth metals that cost more per gram, but if you're talking about density of atoms or something.
Rare earth more of a soul band, I think.
Yeah.
Than a metal band.
Yeah, you're right.
Why are they called rare earth metals? Is it because they're more abundant in space theoretically?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you'd. I mean, they're called that because they're rare on Earth. Rare, hard to find Earth metals. Yeah,
but why wouldn't they just call them rare metals? Is what I'm saying.
That's a pretty good point. He's actually right. The eggheads in DC are wrong.
They're scrambling.
I
just got an email from something I didn't sign up for that's Trump is freaking out right now.
Okay.
Give us $15 to keep saying rare metals to him.
What's the episode about?
We're talking about Moneyball today. This is an important film in
Why? So Steven Soderbergh didn't make that movie?
Yeah, but he really notably didn't make it.
Yep, that's true.
Soderbergh, as we discussed on the main feed, Soderbergh was all set to make Moneyball with Brad Pitt and Dimitri Martin of Sharpie fame
as the Peter Brand character.
Who was still named Paul de Podesta.
Yep.
At that time,
that's the
Paul
real
Podesta?
No, de Podesta. Yeah, the real guy that I think he went to Harvard. They made
Instead
it was
Yale.
Real low effort switch.
Yeah. They should have had him go to MIT, even less effort. But Soderbergh was all set to make this movie. He had, we'll talk more about it, but he had people playing themselves. He had an innovative way of doing it. And then he rewrote the script, and with literally 96 hours before production was set to begin, Amy Pascal of racist email leak fame pulled the old plug like we're going to do to Ian. It's the first chance we get.
Any day.
He just got an appendectomy.
Any day I'm relying on a plug for any reason. Yeah.
He doesn't need that. I'm just yanking it out of the wall. Take a big chunk of drywall with me too.
You're so strong.
But thank you. It's a shitty hospital. It's the only one we put you in.
Yeah.
It's like it's actually an IKEA. It's like a staged hospital room. So
you're trying to catch me like is that Rogue Nation? Which one is that?
That is Fallout with the Wolf Blitzer stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
This guy gets me.
Imagine putting a wolf in a blender, blitzing him up.
I would consider you my enemy. Yeah.
I respect him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Soderbergh had the film ripped away from him, and it big rupture point in his career. That we've discussed. This was around in 2009, and then the film did eventually get made. So we're going to talk about the movie that got made.
Great. And talk about what it's saying, and also talk a little bit about the movie that didn't get made. I assume we'll read that first page of Soderbergh's script.
No, I don't find that relevant. Yeah, no, we will.
Okay. Cool.
I just want to. There's something I like saying, and I'm going to say it more times during the episode, but I'm going to start right now.
What's that?
Daryl Strawberry.
Oh yeah, sure. I understand that. You're
what
right.
An incredible name. He was also on The Simpsons.
Is that true?
Like playing himself. Yeah. One of the first things I learned about baseball, because I was watching. This is when I had Simpsons DVDs when I was like 10 or whatever. Daryl Strawberry played himself briefly, but like I had to look it up. That's a real guy. Because that sounds like a fake. That sounds like something The Simpsons would name.
It's true. Or Thomas Pynchon or something.
Right.
Pynchon. What's the real pronunciation that nobody will ever accept?
Bronson Pinchot.
That's right.
But how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling a little loopy. I haven't been living with anybody because I was at home with my family, and then I arrived the same day that my girlfriend left. We were like ships in the daytime because she arrived in the morning and I arrived in the evening. And so I've been at home for like 2 weeks by myself. You're stir crazy. Yeah, I'm on at home vacation. Do you still feel convinced that if you opened the door there would be anything out there, or are you? Well, yeah, because I go outside for lunch.
Oh, okay. What have you been having?
I had the wonderful meal of chile ajo. I don't know if I've never espoused the benefits of chile ajo on the podcast before.
Ajo is garlic?
That's right. This is a type of a kind of a pickled vegetable garlic in red sauce little stew that I eat on top of a piece of a bread bolillo.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say that doesn't sound like it's the main component of a meal, but if it's a bread sauce,
and then you put cheese on top, and then it's the main component. And it's wonderful.
That's good.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
Yeah. How about yourself? How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I hooked up my new Christmas microphone, and I got everything working except that when I do the playback, like when I'm monitoring the microphone live, it's so delayed that it makes me talk really slow and weird. So I'm not hearing myself through the mic, which is a little weird. I have one ear out, coquettishly.
Yeah, it's true. I like it.
And just tweeze some of the hairs, the stray black hairs that come out of the outside of the ear, just for you, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Do you get those?
You're talking about on the sort of outer rim of the galaxy.
Yeah,
there?
You get the kind of on the.
Mine are peach fuzzy, there. But I shave them. That's one of the real signs of male or testosterone heavy aging, I think.
Yeah, my guy will shave them, but I don't go to the guy more than like. Go there like every 3 months.
I wouldn't let anybody touch that. That's disgusting.
Well, he didn't ask. He's already got the little thing trimming up the sideburns. Sure. He just goes for it.
Wow.
Yeah. This is homosociality, as we'll talk about in the baseball film.
Yeah, we must.
Speaking of homosociality, should we do the two questions?
Let's do it.
So this is the two questions where we ask each other two questions Would you like to go first?
Yeah. You have positive. Wait a second. Oh, no. I think I might have asked this exact question before.
Like, you can ask me if I like baseball.
No, kind of though.
Okay.
I was gonna say, what are your like nostalgic childhood game memories? But I have a feeling that I've already asked you this. But you look back and you think, what is the game that lit up your summertime or your little time with your friends by yourself?
I assume you mean like a
computer room?
Outside.
It doesn't have to be.
Okay, I'll give you two.
Okay.
First one. This is the with other people outside physical movement game.
Yep.
And that is Matrix Underwater. This is being in the pool doing Matrix moves.
Look, I'm laughing not because it's not universal. It is. I think anybody born after 1999 has done a Matrix move in the pool.
But we would be doing quite a lot of that. And then runner up is jump catch or whatever you call it, where you run and jump into the pool while somebody throws the ball at you.
Yeah. Okay.
Catch jumping. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the real answer is probably The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. But this is a mostly solo experience. Sometimes playing with my friend Zach, who had a basically like LeBron James level aptitude for any video game in a way that was not that fun.
Yeah. Well, playing a single player video game with your friends has not been one of the great experiences of my life. I'm a little surprised to hear this. It's a real recipe for resentment, I think.
Sometimes we'd trade off. Sometimes we would drag like the small TV from a different room into the same room.
Oh, that's kind of cool. That's like...
Yeah, and this is the time of the GameCube that inexplicably had a handle on the back of it like a lunchbox, and so he would just bring his GameCube over.
It was really easy to do. Yeah,
dueling GameCubes.
Yeah, that's cool.
I know you come from a board game family because there's so many of you. But I'm wondering if that is involved or if there's something lacrosse. I don't know. What are you guys doing up there? You've never mentioned it before, but there's a chance it was your favorite game.
It's true. Yeah, that's kind of how I live my life. Nope. Don't know that I've played more than like a PE class's worth of lacrosse in my entire life.
I think that's more than I've played.
Okay. We did play a lot of board games, and I still enjoy a good board game because of that. I don't know that it was a source of great pleasure as kids for us. Now we play as adults, and I think we've all learned to temper our various problems. But as kids, it was basically just like a countdown clock until somebody got so mad that they left the room.
Right.
And there was sort of frontier justice in that sometimes somebody would be mean and getting ahead, and then everybody else would gang up to sort of crush them and like take them back down to earth. But that didn't really make anybody happy ultimately.
Now, Frontier Justice, that's one of those German style games with no instructions and you're all it's just 6 colored pegs and no board.
That's right. Yeah. And it's like actually most of the game happens in between the rounds. You just talk through the stuff, and that's
right.
Yeah, that's correct.
This is a joke for the board game heads out there who know a lot about board games but don't respect them.
Yeah.
It's a joke for the two guys on the show.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of improvised outside games, went to the park. I think I was in a group of nerds who had a healthy enough appreciation for nature that sometimes we wanted to be outside. But we weren't necessarily good at sports, especially like elementary schooler sports. So
forgive me, Ian and listener, please forgive me. I've probably asked you this before. Okay. There's slacklining going on over there. This seems like the milieu. Not you, but like...
Yeah, I mean, there was
this
definitely
particular part of the South San Francisco.
No, here the peninsula.
Area,
yeah.
The peninsula.
There was definitely slacklining. I was thinking more of like, did you ever have a stage in your childhood where people would do like capture the flag, but you were all pretty old, so you could be like really good at it, and there was like sort of like battlefield strategy happening.
Yeah, doing like Rommel moves you saw on the History Channel or whatever.
Yeah.
A little bit of that. Yeah. I was starting to get away from wanting to be with a sort of a mutual distancing between me and the kids who could run around pretty good.
A conscious decoupling. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
We're sort of a conscious coupling.
We're old.
Yeah, we're old and we decided to do a podcast.
That's right.
Yeah. That's good. That sounds fun. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
My two questions to you, actually pretty related.
Whoa.
You ever play Super Monkey Ball?
Oh, yeah. I remember playing Super Monkey Ball 2 on a Saturday in our little like rec room area for so long that I got a headache that lasted for like 5 hours.
Yeah, dude. I did that with Myst once.
Hell yeah. I mean, that was a pretty good game for our family because you're playing together, or sometimes they do like little mini games where you trade off with each other. That was pretty
right.
ideal.
And it's a pretty good spectator game too, because it's a lot of like,
exactly,
like, you know, is he going to make it kind of thing?
Yep. Do you want to explain Super Monkey Ball briefly?
Yeah, Super Monkey Ball is a real it's sort of a electronic adaptation of a fairly classic game mechanic where there's a ball on a course that has like holes or pegs or obstacles or something, and the ball you have to get to the end. Usually there's a slope involved, and so you're trying carefully to steer a sphere with a little cute monkey guy in it down the course without falling through the hole or going over the edge or whatever. And sometimes there's a racing component.
Sometimes there's like these little mini games where you're launching your guy, right? There's sort of like rules specific to that game, right? You have to land on a platform or whatever.
Yeah. And it's I don't remember if it was a Nintendo first party game or just like heavily Nintendo associated, but it's got a Nintendo-esque really impressive jump by Ian's cat in the background here. It's got a Nintendo-esque, cute, cartoony,
world without death. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all I think about when I think about this movie, because the movie's name is basically Monkey Ball.
Yeah.
Was there like I think at some point, was there a motion control element where you like tipped the control maybe for the Wii or something?
For my analog heads, it's like that little maze game where you have the knobs and you're moving it in different directions to try to get the little steel ball around. You're steering a sphere, as my friend once said.
Yeah. Hey, you're often playing the maze game down there.
How's that?
Making a tortilla.
Oh, yeah, that's
tamal.
Sure, yeah, we're all in the maze game all the time down here.
Yeah. Is it what? No, Hugo's Juice.
Yeah.
Fuego. This game. Fuego de Maíz.
Yep.
Cool. We're done with the episode, I think.
Bye, everybody.
No. We're talking about Moneyball. This is was eventually directed by Bennett Miller. Now there's a plane going overhead. I'm excited to see what happens with my new microphone and the airplane.
I'm not hearing the plane at all. The microphone knows who's a human and who's a aircraft.
Tell that to Dane Cook as whoever in the film Planes.
As
probably like. You want to guess what his name is?
Yeah. His name is. I mean, it can't be Wings because that could be all the guys' names. His name is Props McLaughlin.
That's really good. I'm going to guess his name is like something not that plainy because he's the lead guy. I'm going to bet his name's like Chance.
Actually, I think I just remember. His name is like Dust Cropster or something.
I think his name is Dusty. Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Let's look it up.
I've never seen
Dusty Crop Hopper.
Yep.
Dusty Crop Hopper. We've also got Stacy Keach.
Yeah, that's
as
really
Skipper Riley.
Disappointed to hear he's in
Priyanka Chopra.
Skipper Riley doing like a Ninth Configuration style like flashback to being a killer in the Vietnam War.
Oh wow, we've do bombing runs over. Where was the border? Did you see the border? You got Cedric the Entertainer from First Reformed as Lead Bottom, a biplane.
Wow.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus is Rochelle. I assume she is the...
Is that a Rochelle Seinfeld joke?
Maybe. It could be. Probably not.
I guess you're right. Probably not.
Oh, Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias is in it.
Magical Michael.
Ned and Zed. Yep. You've also got anybody else we've seen here. Sportscaster Brent Musburger as Brent Mustangburger. Of 1964 Ford Mustang, who also appeared in Cars 2. So the Cars car is in Planes. Anyway, we're talking about Moneyball.
Yep.
Directed by Bennett Miller, released September 23rd, 2011, written by Steve Zalian and Aaron Sorkin. But let's jump back in time. Talk a little bit about, I mean, we teed it up a little bit, but basically, Moneyball. Teed it up, yep. That's a really good point. God damn, this guy's pretty incredible. Moneyball is this, well, it's a concept and it's a book, and it's a movie.
Yes. It begins, are we saying it begins with Michael Lewis, Bill James? Where does it begin?
I mean, the
Society for American Baseball Research?
I guess it begins, I'm going Primordial Ooze on this one.
It begins with the concept of pleasure.
In the beginning, there was the word.
Yeah.
So there's a book by Michael Lewis called Moneyball, The Art of Winning an Unfair Game that comes out in 2003. It's about the Oakland Athletics baseball team, general manager Billy Beane, and the application of, at that time, a sort of discredited analytics and statistics model called sabermetrics.
Yep.
And the idea is basically, in order to compete in Major League Baseball, where different teams have different budgets that allow them to entice the best players, a team with a lower budget can, through the application of statistics and challenging conventional baseball wisdom, actually beat out the big guys by basically being less flashy and focusing on what actually works instead of what's
romantic and impressive and contributes to sort of the things people like to watch, whatever.
Yes. This guy, Bill James, I think we talked about Bill James when Jesse Thorne was on the show.
I think that's true.
Bill James is as explained in the film, he was a baseball fan and a statistics fan who was, as pejoratively and anti-workerly described in the film, working as a security guard at a pork plant or something, which that's as if your job indicates your worth as a person or like
right.
who you'll be forever.
Your intelligence, anything.
Yeah. But he was a guy who had studied, he had served in the Army and went to the University of Kansas and got a degree in economics. And he was just like an obsessive baseball guy. And I think he was also like working as a security guard to pay the bills while he was writing. Yeah,
I was going to say the same thing. I think it's a distortion. But yeah, he had been working on this since the early 80s, and he was just like a stats guy, and he'd come up with kind of his own interpretation of some of the stuff. Like he had this, I think, a stat called the secondary average or something like this, where it's sort of like taking out the batting average, which is obviously like the biggest stat in baseball for individual players, or historically had been, like how else are they contributing to winning on their team? So sort of like unseen contributions, and then all the things that go into that.
And his idea also is that, you know, baseball statistics, the box score, the famous, the classic way of tracking aspects of baseball player achievement, was developed by a guy named Henry Chadwick, who was adapting it from cricket statistics and cricket scoring in 1858.
Yeah.
The early days of the game, early days of statistical reasoning, not early days, but like, you know, it clearly over 100 years of mathematics behind. And Bill James's idea was like, this doesn't fully conceptualize, fully ingest all of the data that you can pull from baseball in order to best understand like the value of a baseball player. Sabermetrics comes from the initialism. I guess. Wait, it's an
acronym.
It's an acronym
because you're saying it. Yep.
Society for American Baseball Research, SABR, which was. He didn't found Saber, right?
I don't think so. He coined the term sabermetrics, but
it sounds like counting your swords, which is cool.
Yeah,
just don't do it before they hatch.
Yeah.
And a lot of this, you know, as we see in the finished film, baseball is full of a lot of guys who have a kind of magical thinking and ideologically obfuscated way of understanding baseball in their own, like, sort of arcane conception of it, their arcane way to understand this game that other people could never pick up on because of,
these intangibles, this insight into the heroic character. Moneyball has come up on the podcast before, specifically for our Patreon subscribers. In our discussion of Trouble at the Curve, when we talked about Clint Eastwood's scouting movie, but this sort of romantic sense that people who love something and commit their lives to it will gain special insight, right? That's
that's a film about Saddam Hussein, Trouble with the Kurds.
Yeah. It could be.
Yeah. But it's also, we talk about statistics a lot on this show. We talk about a lot of this show and a lot of our way of like understanding and trying to better understand the world has to do with challenging accepted wisdom and looking at measuring how things actually are as opposed to how everyone agrees they are.
Like when we talk about things like crime, for example, this perception that the world is dangerous and getting more dangerous when that is often demonstrably not the case.
And I was thinking, who kind of invented sabermetrics?
Who's that?
Karl Marx.
Materialism,
historical materialism is like...
That's a pretty good argument, yeah.
Is basically... don't actually trust these weird old guys who say they have a magic understanding of how the world works.
Yeah, or even, in Capital, exactly, sort of saying, well, how often are we going to say that the like monetary crises are accidents, and until we say, you know what, this might be a feature of capitalism.
Right. And then the book Moneyball, The Art of Winning an Unfair Game by Michael Lewis, who is a finance journalist, a Vanity Fair guy, also author of The Blind Side and The Big Short.
Yes.
So give you a sense of the kind of movies that get made out of this guy's books that are often sort of oversimplifying big ideas and or racist. But he specifically tries to kind of tie an underdog story to the slow application of sabermetrics or adoption of sabermetrics by Major League Baseball to the story of the 2002 Oakland Athletics, where general manager Billy Beane and a guy named Paul DePodesta, who was like his assistant, and also a guy named J.P. Ricciardi, who is elided from the final film. They try to like sort of go all in on sabermetrics in order to rethink how to replace three major players who got who left the team and take on the big, deep-pocketed teams like the Yankees. So the Yankees at this time have like about 4 times the budget of the Oakland Athletics.
Yeah. I think, credit to the book itself, which I was able to get through most of, although not all.
Oh, yeah?
It is like trying to recognize the wider environment in which this is happening. First of all, recognizing that Bill James's ideas have been around and they're sort of softly applied in certain circumstances. So I think that's within reasonable artistic license for a film to try to dramatize it as like a single inflection point when really it was like a slow adoption, with maybe this being like still the critical season that popularized this idea.
Right.
He also talks a lot more about the financial inequalities of Major League Baseball. And I'm going to talk about Billy Beane going in front of this blue ribbon panel that had former chair of the Federal Reserve, Paul Volcker, on it, where they were trying to address like fundamental problems that seem to be sabotaging the game.
Volker's come up on the show before.
He certainly has. Yeah.
I believe because he was in the context of Any Which Way You Can, because he was at the fucking Jackson Hole Economic Forum.
That's, exactly his time, like Volcker shock in the beginning of the 80s to sort of combat inflation by basically causing a recession on purpose.
Cool guy.
Yeah, also kind of had a dramatic effect on Latin America secondarily. But
yeah, I meant like by cool guy, I mean he's he deserved a sort of Volcker shock to his entire body until it stopped moving.
Yeah, although in this case, the Blue Ribbon panel reports that they came out with did effectively say like baseball is kind of broken by the economic inequality here, and technically I think his panel was supposed to be like a assessment of the collective bargaining agreement, and what they came out and said was you need to be like harvesting something like 50% of revenue at each park and creating a pool that then all teams are drawing out of. These are the recommendations. Basically recognizing that if you're having a sport, like you're saying, where the income of certain players and the salaries of certain teams are so much higher, it's becomes impossible for it to be competitive. And
right. I mean,
no, go ahead.
What we are seeing here is that was supposed to be Dreyfus from Jaws. I don't know what's going on with me.
It's okay.
What we're seeing here is like guys 15% acknowledging the contradictions of capitalism and how like none of this is sustainable and it can't work. Well, but then just trying to figure out how to, like, as with many capitalist guys, like, well, how do I just become the fucker overer instead of the guy getting fucked over?
Yeah, I'm going to dump an early observation for me, which is that the classic battle that's represented of the binary is sort of like romantic old school baseball, love of small ball, love of these things that fans love to watch, right? Like stealing bases and sort of like strategic play.
The entertainment of it.
Right. And these like individual heroes who save teams versus this cold sabermetrics approach where unglamorous, kind of boring to watch decisions win games. It's all kind of a fantasy because baseball before sabermetrics and baseball after sabermetrics, a huge part of the game is just decided by owners trying to make money off of their franchise. I mean, that is
right.
It's the thing that defines baseball decisions in terms of who they're buying, where they move, what the experience is like for fans before and after sabermetrics. So it's all kind of silly to say, baseball used to be this like mythological, in the style of epics, desire for like the heightening of the human spirit. And now it's this, totally unhuman or inhuman and cruel approach to just like trying to maximize efficiency. Because it's always been about efficiency, but for profit of the owners, effectively.
Right. Well, this is sort of the contradiction in the problem with professional sports generally, and like the thing you run into when, for example, I have had a series of very friendly and lighthearted conversations with my famous podcast girlfriend's father about how the Olympics are really bad.
Sure.
And bringing them to Los Angeles will immiserate a lot of people, waste a lot of money. It did that before.
Yep.
It's going to do it again in 2028 unless we kick them out. It's also an excuse to empower law enforcement. I mean, that's part of the immiseration.
Displacing homeless populations, all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the special security event status or whatever the thing?
Yep.
And this is, for example, the kind of thing where we would apply statistics and say, like, look at all these people who are hurt by this. Look at the expenditure on
where does the money go for these infrastructure projects?
Yes.
Yep.
And then compare that, but then he would come back and say, but like, it's a time for all the nations of the world to come together and to demonstrate the inspiring capacity of human beings, and it's so fun to watch. It's this globally like uniting event where everyone's talking about the thing that happened with the cool Turkish guy shooting the gun, or like and
I would argue that he's correct in the fact that those things exist, but
same with as we see in the finished film, these fucking moments of like the guy not realizing he hit a home run is like some of the best kind of shit. Or when Scott Hatterberg hits the game-winning home run and everyone piles on him, it rules. It's great. That's why sports movies are so popular.
Yeah, but
that, I think, I suspect we'll both argue, does not have to come with raising of a bunch of people's homes to build a stadium that is paid for by the taxpayer and generates like mostly turns like a thriving downtown into parking lots for a big bowl of people that is used like once a week.
Right.
To say nothing of, it's just further enriching a guy who also owns a bunch of housing developments and like Lowe's or something.
Yeah, I mean, I know it maybe sounded like I was being like a reductive socialist analyst and saying, oh, it's all about the money for these guys. But truly, I mean, if I would assume I don't have to explain this to baseball fans probably, but the people who own these teams, like right now, you know, I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I spent the last couple of days reading
That's
about
softball.
Yeah,
you choose baseball as softball.
That's true. You're so right.
Yeah. Small ball fans, they like baseball. Actually, well, some of them like golf.
Yeah. Well, what about kickball? How's it figure into all this?
That's even bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the biggest baseball fans of all. They go all the way up to kickball. Or do you ever play Omnikin?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
All my gym class heads.
I don't know how much that actually resembles baseball, but
not at all. It's a soccer analog, but exactly. It's just the biggest ball I can think of.
Yeah, sure. It's the biggest ball any of us can think of. Yeah, I mean, I was reading about this guy, John Fisher, who is the owner of the Oakland A's currently, and I was texting Jake about how he's pushing the limits of how much a billionaire can basically invite people to hate him, because he has almost gone on record saying he is like tanking the success of the A's because of his weird plans and the fact that he wants to move them. And
what's move them to Vegas specifically?
Yep, to a place that absolutely cannot really support a team in the same way. I mean, even the Bay Area has something like 8 times the sort of like sports going fandom of Vegas. So even if you're splitting it between 2 baseball teams, it still overwhelmingly makes more sense to be there. And part of his fit was that he just didn't get the either tax cuts or straight up money to build a new stadium that he wanted in the Bay Area. So he went to Vegas because they promised him, I think, like $380 million or something.
And the purpose of building a new stadium is usually to like increase capacity of people who you can charge to get in there. You can also charge them more because the stadium is new. You can put in more ways to like extract $18 beer money and $20 nacho money from them.
The efficiencies that they're interested in. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And so all of the baseball owners are this kind of thing. They basically generate no value for society. They extract exclusively. I'm excited to talk about what's this motherfucker's name who plays Steve Schott in the movie, the Activision guy?
His name is like Bochick.
Fucker McDick. Yeah. Wait, let's look his name up. Activision Blizzard. Bobby Kotick.
Yeah.
Bobby No Dick when I'm done with him. Cut his dick off. Just kidding. Beep beep beep. But yeah, I mean, it's to them it's just an asset. It has nothing to do with baseball. And it's interesting the way that this movie becomes a microcosm for so many things. It's kind of a rich text by accident, I think. Ooh. I don't know that Aaron Sorkin and Steve Zalian are trying to make a, the Wicker Man style, alien style movie that can be read, that can
I
launch
see what you're saying. Yeah,
a million dissertations.
Yeah. Yes. Or like the aforementioned Underwater Matrix.
I'm just thinking about like a Resident Evil movie with the little slicing lasers, but it's underwater and like the chunks floating up. Maybe there's a shark in there.
Yeah, that'd be cool. How's that shark getting around the lasers?
They turn the lasers off and let the shark out. The shark has there's a shark gate.
Okay.
So let's talk about the production history of the film, I think.
Okay.
Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. So there's the book. I think it's the kind of book that is digestible by executives while also making them feel like they're smart because they're understanding like a new way of thinking. And it also makes them think, I'm doing Moneyball by like lowballing actors or whatever. Like I'm doing Moneyball running movie studios. And I think that is, we're at the same time as this movie's coming out, we're seeing stuff like Ryan Kavanaugh's Relativity Media with the sort of algorithm stuff. Soderbergh very interested in all this type of thing. Mm. The movie gets so initially there is a script developed that Sony acquires the rights in 2004. They hire this guy Stan Chervin to write the screenplay. Stan Chervin, who has a story credit on this, story and screenplay credit on something called Space Warriors that I've never heard of, and then his biggest credit to date is the Clifford the Big Red Dog movie, which is fine.
Huge credit. I mean, imagine the balls that guy's playing with.
Yeah, he's a huge ball fan. That guy, Clifford fucking fetching the sun. to save the Earth or something.
Yeah.
Clifford 2
or something.
or something. Yeah. Whoa, Clifford versus the Wandering Earth.
Whoa, yeah, that
And he's
could be pretty
red.
good.
He's already red. Chiang Kai-shek,
the sun.
the big white dog.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you're on to something.
I'm going to mail this to myself. Yeah. So it's, it's kind of one of many things that's just in the hopper. In 2008, Brad Pitt seems to get interested. They bring in Steve Zalian, who's rewriting the script. He's the guy who wrote Schindler's List. He won the Academy Award. He wrote Awakenings, the De Niro, Robin Williams movie based on the Oliver Sacks book. Oliver Sacks has since been further discredited since we talked about him on our Spalding Gray episode. I had a dream Spalding Gray was still alive. Yeah. He also wrote Gangs of New York.
Irishman.
Wrote The Irishman. Yep. Yeah, he's like a big deal. He created, wrote, and directed the Night of, which was a HBO show that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I went to Sonoma State. Shout out.
Cool.
Armenian, like Joe Manganiello.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then David Frankel is attached to direct. David Frankel, who directed The Devil Wears Prada and Marley and Me prior to this. So you can imagine this is going to be like a pretty classic
broad appeal. Yeah.
Sports, like a Seabiscuit, like a Blind Side.
Yes. Yep.
Frankel leaves the project in February 2009, and Soderbergh enters negotiations to direct. Pitt and Soderbergh, of course, know each other from doing heists.
That's right. Yep.
Soderbergh, as listeners may recall, was a child baseball phenom. And at like 12, I think he got the yips, basically.
He basically Billy Beaned out too early. Yeah.
Yeah. I smoked too much weed and I beaned out.
Yeah.
No. I don't do any of that stuff.
No, you don't.
I smoke beans like you on the beanball course. Fuck. I got to get rid of this microphone, I think.
Hey, there's something wrong with it. It's making me sick.
Yeah. Soderbergh said, I think we have a way in making it visual and making it funny. I want it to be really funny and entertaining. I want you to not realize how much information is being thrown at you because you're having fun. That's also the podcast. We found a couple of ideas on how to bust the form a bit in order for all that information to reach you in a way that's a little oblique. Which to me, it's funny that this is a book by the guy who wrote The Big Short, because that sounds like what Adam McKay tries to do with The Big Short.
Kind of explicitly comedy movie. I mean, I think some of this does end up in the final script and on screen, because I mean there are moments in the film that are dedicated to being like laugh lines. I mean they're not like Naked Gun style bits, but they're jokes, and they're good. I think they're good jokes. Yeah.
Dimitri Martin is cast to play Paul the Podesta. This is the reason I knew about this, because at the time, the biggest thing in the world to me was like jokes. And Dimitri Martin, I like Dimitri Martin's joke type because he was sort of like a white ethnic Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, I guess he was like he was the king of the Greeks. Yeah. Huh?
Did you like him?
Dimitri Martin?
Big for you? Yeah.
I mean, I'm on the record. I'm on the podcast record saying that I enjoyed his jokes a lot as an incoming freshman, like a senior in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Dimitri Martin joke that comes to mind?
I don't know if I remember a single one except for the Brothers Hold one that you just repeated on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I like the pajama pockets one. Why do my pajamas have pockets? So I can keep a note in there. Oh, keep sleeping. Okay.
Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah,
and he is self-deprecating about this all being kind of like stupid and meaningless, which was maybe annoying for some people, but now I think in retrospect, compared to like anti-woke comedian, I would go back to the comedians who thought this all sucks. I mean, give
me Too Cute by half over I'm having Tucker Carlson on my podcast
exactly.
Any day.
Yeah. So this is why you know about this.
Yes, and then. And it was also like, Dimitri Martin's going to be in an Ocean's 11 style baseball movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he was going to have Scott Hatterberg and David Justice play themselves. He was going to have Art Howe playing himself, the manager of the team. He was going to have this is from his screenplay, which is pretty easy to access.
Yeah. Do you want me to read the first page of this here?
I would love for you to read the first page. I don't know how.
Okay. Yeah, I'll help you out.
Thanks.
So this is the note before the beginning of the actual dialogue in the screenplay. And it says, Billy Beane's minor and major league career will be shown via filmed interviews with scouts, coaches, managers, players, and family members who were with him at the time. These interviews will comprise approximately 10% of the film. Another 10% of the film will consist of reenactments of real events as remembered by the people playing themselves. The purpose of these scenes will be to provide setup and perspective for subjects, situations, or relationships which currently appear in the screenplay without the requisite / normal amount of context. All this is to say an important portion of this film will be written in the editing room. This isn't a cop-out, it's just a fact, and entirely by design. Extraordinarily Soderbergh writing here, I think.
Yeah, and I'm curious what this brought to mind for you. Obviously, it feels a little bit like Schizopolis.
Yes, yeah, there's a bit of that.
He also was committed to not depicting anything that didn't happen, which is a very Che idea.
Yep.
And this feels like Soderbergh kind of trying to combine the Ocean's sort of slick, fun underdog story with a kind of bubble and girlfriend experience.
Those are the two that I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. Docudrama thing.
But also making it funny, I guess, to sort of make it more palatable as a sports movie. I mean, it sounds intriguing to me. I would have enjoyed watching this film, I think. Did
you read the script?
I read most of it. I didn't get to the end, but
I read this and I read the Zalian script from before this.
That one I didn't really look at. Yeah.
The Zalian script from 2008.
Pre-Sorkin, pre-Soderbergh.
Yeah. And so there's the Zalian script from December 2008 that's easy to find. And then the Soderbergh shooting script. Yeah. And for a second I was like, that can't be right. And then I remember they pulled the plug 5 days before.
This was ready to go.
To go.
Yeah.
And so I have just a couple quick notes.
Yeah.
About the two of them. So the Zalian draft, Billy Beane is much more of like a coxman. He's laying pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Podesta is called Paul de Podesta, or de Podesta is called Paul de Podesta, as opposed to in the final version, his character's been changed to a guy named Peter Brand because de Podesta was like, this doesn't really resemble me. I'd rather not be.
I actually think his comments on the film are kind of nice, where he basically said, like, first of all, Jonah Hill was a delight to talk to and was very respectful of my experience. Like, he wanted to understand the way it really happened.
Right.
And also,
he's a man.
Yeah. And also he says something like, I understand that all the decisions they made were in the dramatic interest of the film. Like, it's not, he didn't do a sort of like Neil deGrasse Tyson, like, this is all fake or give me the real thing. He said, I understand why I needed to be painted as this like point of conflict on the team, but that's not really how it felt to me, and I didn't want to. But ultimately, I think somebody from the production, I forget if it was Bennett Miller or somebody, like thanked him for his contributions. So it's not he was like an obstacle to the production of this film.
Right. So in this draft, there's much more of a slobs versus snobs narrative. You get a little more time with each of the player, with a lot of the players, where you get their kind of like, this is why this guy's weird and people don't respect him. You have a little bit of that in the final version. It's mostly just Hatterberg and the weird pitcher.
Uh-huh.
But you get like there's more of a team angle.
Yeah.
Podesta has a wife and kid in it, and then the most notable thing in it is that it, to me and for our purposes, is that it includes that Steve Schott is a property developer, and there's like a scene early on where Billy Beane goes to meet with him, and he's at a model home of like a development he's working on, where he talks about the faucets that they're putting into the model home and how these are $100 faucets, and the water comes out of them the same way it comes out of $1,000 faucets. I know that, but the people who buy this house are going to be so happy about how they own a house that they're not going to care. So that you get a sense of like the utter disdain this guy has for the people that he extracts money from.
And I can't remember if we already clarified this, but Steve Schott, this is the owner of the A's at the time, overseeing all this stuff happening, but overseeing it with active disinterest, lack of interest.
Yeah. And it's like one of several jobs. You get the sense that he's not sitting in the front office of the A's thinking about the A's all day. He's doing other shit. You also get more like it opens with Billy Beane like leaving his girlfriend at the airport when they're about to go on vacation to Hawaii because he gets a chance to try to get another player, and he literally flies to like meet this guy at his son's bar mitzvah and interrupt him. So it's like
sort of like sabotaging everything for the sake of
Jerry Maguire-y stuff.
Yeah.
Jerry Maguire pre-Manifesto. That movie's fucking insane.
Yeah,
anyway, then you get the Soderbergh draft,
which is heavy. I mean, it draws in some ways more from the book, as far as I can tell, in that it is like taking chunks of straight up like analysis of the situation of baseball, right? It's talking about like, in the last couple seasons, like this is what these people achieved. This is why it didn't work for them, or like this is how they achieved it. Here's how it's different for us. I mean, it has like, I don't know if they qualify as monologues, but they're often like 20-second chunks of people.
Some of it is pretty gnarly. Yeah. Some of, especially early on, it's like, this is rough.
Yes. Yeah.
It picks up later, and it's clearly flashy and splashy.
Right.
But because he's committed to the truth of how things happen, Soderbergh kind of, he takes out the main sort of dramatic angle of the both the Zalian draft and the finished film, which is like, the A's have a really bad season. Billy Beane loses his top 3 players, doesn't know what to do, and happens to run into this guy who has a whole new way of conceiving of baseball right at the right moment. The truth is, Moneyball and the application of sabermetrics at the Oakland A's predated Billy Beane's time there.
Yeah.
Because the general manager prior to Billy Beane, this guy Sandy Alderman, had already started looking at sabermetrics a little bit in the 90s.
And again, it was still like a much smaller proportion of their decision making, but it was there.
Right. It wasn't like no one had heard of this and Paul DePodesta came out of nowhere.
Exactly. And specifically, I mean, the other things that the film elides, I mean, the existence of the big 3 who are like the actual core of the Oakland A's, who basically don't appear in the film at all.
Yeah. There's a great article from Slate from 2011 by David Haglund called More Moneyball, Same Problems, that breaks down sort of the distance, the movie's distance from the reality of what happened.
Because there's also a lot of like something the book focuses on is them switching to like getting players from college ball instead of trying to draft high school players who don't have like stats on record, basically, that you can use to make these decisions, things like this.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if you picked up on this, in the Soderbergh draft, Billy and Paul are much more of a kind of comedy duo a la Danny Ocean and Rusty Ryan.
Definitely. Absolutely the case. Yeah. From the beginning, they sort of like are finishing each other's sandwiches and doing little, like you're saying, or even just like Abbott and Costello-y style back and forth.
And they're both like fully in on this together. He cuts out the sort of stupid, the room full of stupid old guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're removed. Oh, also, I should say the original Zalian draft has Bill James either appearing as himself or, getting a character actor or whatever, getting Ricky Jay to be a kind of Greek chorus explaining the history of baseball statistics and what it got wrong. And they keep indicating that like he's staring at the audience with disdain and stuff.
You mentioned scouts.
That's removed.
The other thing I recall reading is that like by the time Billy Beane was doing this for the 2002 season, the scouts that were in the office were already people who were on board with this sabermetric style. So, but again, some of this I'm sympathetic to. Just, I don't want to be a CinemaSins breakdown guy, because there was resistance in the office like in the 90s to some of this stuff, but they had just replaced most of those scouts by the time this thing happens.
And the story isn't out of nowhere. They try this new approach and it works the first time. The story is more like they've been trying pieces of this approach. They go a little heavier on it in this season, and because of a number of factors, it works out for the first time, and everybody's like, these guys are crazy. And then they have the big indisputable fact of the 2002 Oakland A's is that they win 20 games in a row, setting a record for the American League.
Right. I think this is interesting for us in terms of political thinking, because as appealing as it is to have the disruptor story, even in this sort of leftist style of like somebody comes in with big ideas. The reality is often more like it takes a bunch of kind of abortive attempts and ways of figuring out like, you know, how do we make this work? What does this actually look like in practice? What does the context allow us to do? I mean, that's how real transformation happens, even if there are big ideas that come in and kind of upset the conventional narrative, and those can be useful.
Right. It's often 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yep.
And then sometimes like 3 steps back and 4 steps forward and 2 steps back, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember if this is going to come out by the time our appearance on a podcast about Andor comes out, but like the way that show truly shows how there are a million people involved in progress, each doing their own thing, sometimes almost at cross purposes to each other.
Yep.
But progress is like a slow relay race rather than a quick shift. But Mr. Quick Shift himself, once Amy Pascal pulls the plug, because look, Soderbergh did change the fuck out of this script, and like it sounds much more challenging than the Devil Wears Prada guy doing a baseball underdog movie.
Definitely. I mean, if you're asking me, and I'm sorry to Soderbergh, if you're asking me which film is going to make more money, and presumably that is the basis of Amy Pascal's decision making, I think she probably picked the one that would make more money.
Yes, and it was going to cost like $58 million.
Yeah.
And even though it's Brad Pitt, you know, it might put egg on her face. And I think the realities of filmmaking being what they are, like, I think it's probably more embarrassing for a weird Brad Pitt movie to fail than a conventional Brad Pitt movie to fail, because then you can just say, well, audiences weren't ready or whatever.
Right.
So the movie goes into turnaround. Nobody else picks it up. It's at Sony. Amy Pascal is the Sony exec. And eventually, Bennett Miller, the director of Capote,
feature director of Foxcatcher people. I don't think has he directed anything else since then?
He has not.
Yeah.
And I mean, probably some TV and stuff. Like, he's got an untitled documentary in the works, but his last movie was 2014. I know he does a lot of commercials. Apparently he was one of the first to receive access to DALL-E, the text-to-image model granted by Sam Altman. He's doing like a documentary on technological advancements. He was apparently going to do a version of A Christmas Carol written by Tom Stoppard.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, but that didn't materialize. Anyway, Bennett Miller comes on.
Yep.
And Aaron Sorkin is brought on to polish the script. He insists on Zalian's blessing, which is nice of him, I guess. But I think fuck Steven Soderbergh is implied in that.
Yeah.
And so and Wally Pfister, who was Christopher Nolan's cinematographer up through Inception, comes on. So all of a sudden you have a very like Tony sort of, I think, Silicon Valley adjacent kind of slick, serious with jokes, but like ultimately the aesthetic of the film is intended for us to take it seriously kind of a movie. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's worth mentioning or worth discussing how much we think this draws from some of the digital era Soderbergh cinematography, even if he is gone from the production. I think there are elements of this color palette stuff, editing choices. If we're talking about Bubble, the montages of like empty baseball stadiums before we see anybody. To me,
very much so.
These could be pulled from a Soderbergh film. I mean,
there's a kind of a coldness, and a Soderbergh himself has he has an interest in new technologies, an interest in. They did shoot this on 35, but like an interest in almost like places and environments over people sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Although I would say this ends up being sort of like palatable coldness. I mean, this is cable friendly coldness. Yeah, it's kind of like a David Fincher-lite feeling. Yep. And the Zodiac presence of light, Brad Pitt is part of that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what do you think of this finished movie? First of all, I think it was an American production. Fuck, dude, that's. Hey, come on. I am a fan of this film, even if
Wolf Blitzen. They got reindeer up there. Wolves too, probably.
I think they definitely got wolves up there. I think the movie just really works as a combination of like a story about a man who was like could have been told not as either like a tragedy or as like wish fulfillment, but as like displaced onto this desire to explore something new, right? Somebody who is kind of like the case in point of what was wrong with the system, although he kind of denies it throughout the movie. I'm talking about Brad Pitt's character, Billy Bean, who was supposed to be like this great prospect for the Mets and
high school phenom. Yeah,
exactly. Like even compared to the other, they say in the book, the other like premium contenders, the other people coming out of high school who are supposed to be incredible, he was like head and shoulders above them. So right. Despite all that, he is kind of a tremendous failure in his athletic career. And in the movie, the people try to say, like, is this you getting kind of revenge for the scout's failure to understand your situation? And he denies it. But I think we can still understand that he's somebody who has been brought face to face with why these narratives don't really track with the reality of people's experiences. And right. If we're doing, again, a bit of political analysis of this, I'm not immune to the charms of a heroic story in sports, right? And I mean, it can be, of course, it can be destructive sport. I'm a little bit more familiar with basketball. They'll often call this hero ball, where somebody thinks they are carrying the team and will make selfish decisions, and that's more possible in basketball than it is in baseball. But you do get it because it's fun to watch somebody like Allen Iverson or whatever just be really good at a sport and be doing basically like performance on this stage for people. But the movie, in denying that and saying there are realities about humans' experiences that don't really match our desire to see a single person succeed and a single person sort of like highlight this dream of what we wish we could maybe have for ourselves. And in fact, maybe there is like a romanticism to that, right? It's not saying like, screw romanticism. It's saying, well, isn't there an appeal to maybe finding like the underappreciated value in players and finding somebody like a Scotty Hatteberg who was basically out of the league and saying like, this guy does bring value to teams. I mean, I just think it works. It's, to me, it's a real like Saturday afternoon movie that you can just throw on and watch.
It's a new dad classic.
Yeah, it is. It's
I like this movie. Classic. It makes it's one of those movies that, like a Fincher or a Nolan, I think tries to make you feel smart for watching it more in its visual aesthetics somehow than in its actual content. I mean, it's making like borderline avant-garde or experimental filmmaking choices about like dropping the sound out, which is, kind of like a little bit baby's first non-Hollywood film stuff. Right. Exactly. It's the kind of movie that impresses guys who have an Inception poster or whatever. Right. Yeah, I remember seeing this at the which one's the bigger one, the Bruin or the Village in Westwood?
I think it's the big Village, right?
Yes, the Village Theater in Westwood. In college, my friend Julian fell asleep. It was like a 10 p.m. showing, and I remember liking it. Yeah. And then I've watched it once or twice since, and it's it's fun to watch a movie about people talking about statistics and stuff. Yeah. And it's, as you said, it aligns in some ways with like quite well with the way that we think about the world. It's about basin superstructure. It's about demystification. Right. But what Peter Brand / Paul DePodesta are doing in the film specifically, what Moneyball is doing is looking at like, this guy is impressive, this guy's handsome, this guy hits he hits huge dingers or whatever. He is an entertaining player. But what actually consistently empirically adds up to wins is on base percentage. Yeah. Which is a very unsexy way of looking at baseball, but it means that like a guy who's dumpy or like throws funny or whatever kind of sucks in some way actually ends up scoring more runs, being involved in the scoring of more runs than Sammy Sosa or whatever. Yeah. And instead of basically saying like, hey, this guy who's just because he has an elbow injury, he's actually technically more valuable, is more likely to win you the World Series than Barry Bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of taking that to like the guy's agent and saying you should ask for more money because this worker is more valuable, he takes it to the manager and he's like, here's how you can milk more value out of your employees and save money, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I hope it still doesn't feel reductive, but I do feel that sometimes on the left, and I've mentioned this to you, and I think I mentioned on the podcast, there can be a sort of allergy to doing analysis of like, well, what would the economy actually look like? And part of that is a very understandable recognition of, well, why are we, whatever they say, like planning recipes for the kitchens of the future? Like, we don't know what the conditions will be. Why are we insisting that we're going to know how to run the economy? And that's something that should be decided democratically. But I think it's worthwhile to say, what do the specifics actually look like? But this is where I also think it's rewarding to understand economics enough to say, okay, market forces can help you optimize the price of something. And in doing so, the idea, obviously, of like, pro-capitalists will always say that in optimizing the price, you're actually allocating resources as efficiently as possible, right? And saying like, this is how most people can access this commodity, is by making it by suppressing wages or whatever, right? Like, now you can afford to buy whole wheat bread because we basically were able to pay farmers the least amount of money possible or something, right?
Right.
But like you're saying, the issue is that doesn't even reflect the total economic reality of the decision-making of people, because sometimes you have people throwing away hundreds of pounds of bread, or you have people, as we talked about, I think in our informant episode, you have decisions where there is something that will be to the benefit of shareholders and the people who own a company that is, I think, pretty easy to agree on is not better for the public, right? It is. Right. And I think that is what we're running up against here, where you're saying like, this isn't good for the laborers in the sense that like, yeah, Scotty Hatteberg gets a contract, but he also doesn't get a contract that year that represents his value. In fact, that's the entire appeal of this for the A's, is that they can't pay people the amount that they probably deserve. So they have to find people who are being underpaid and say like, all right, great. We basically are able to outsource our labor to the global south of baseball players.
Yeah, they're exploiting people.
Yeah. But, is there a version of this? I think like if we're imagining a beautiful baseball utopia where there are no owners, or the owners are like the people of the world, would we still be trying to optimize? Yeah, I think so. I mean, we'd be trying to figure out like what is the best way to play the game that like I think you're basically referencing another Bill James stat, this idea of like runs created, right? Not Sammy Sosa style home runs, but like what runs do you contribute to? I mean, that I think is still cool and that's fair, but you're right. The problem is that if you're employing this within a system that functions the way it does, it's obviously going to use it for the ends that it cares about in the first place, right? Like those don't change.
Right. And so on the one, like I'm very like conflicted about this film because I think it's ironic or fitting or an interesting coincidence, whatever, that this is happening in Oakland of all places. Yep. So that this is a Silicon Valley style disruptive way of thinking.
Right.
But like that's, I think statistics and even like disruption are sort of morally neutral, right? Like there's a way that you can, challenge conventional thinking, like something that we talk about all the time. Like if you look at numbers, if you replace the police and prisons with community services, you spend less money to get a better result.
Yes. Or investing in schools is cheaper than building more prisons and maintaining them yearly.
Yeah. And then you have fewer people committing murders and thefts, etc. That's a disruptive way of thinking. But then there's also a disruptive way of thinking, which is like, we can give people a cheaper cab ride by letting anybody become a cab driver without being trained or licensed, and doing it in their own car, and we won't consider them real employees. We'll consider them independent contractors, and this generates a lot of money for us and saves a little bit of money for people coming home from the bar. And if we actually convince enough people to fund this idea that we can lose money for a few years, we get everybody hooked on this and destroy the taxi industry. Yeah. So by the time we need to generate a profit, there's no alternative, and we can just say, joke's on you, it costs as much as a cab now, except this
Now you
guy
have
is
no
using
other
a
options.
fake name and he
Well,
can
yeah.
assault you in the back of the car. Yeah.
And he doesn't have access to health insurance because he's not technically an employee, because we could pay, what was it, $200 million to lobby California to make them not count. Yeah, that's what disruption also looks like.
Right. And so this film, on the one hand, is like showing these guys challenging conventional wisdom, not getting respected. And you do get a little of the real story of sabermetrics being applied to the A's in the situation with Art Howe, where like Bean and Peter Brand set up this team, but then they need somebody to play the team, to manage the team, coach the team, whatever the fuck his role is, as designed.
Yep.
Which is sort of where you get things like
Putting Pena on first base instead of Hatterberg.
Yes, no, I'm thinking like in metaphor terms, like when there's like money set aside by a California state proposition for building housing, but then it just gets locked up for years because none of the developers actually want to build the affordable housing. So there's this money set aside and not going.
It's a great comparison, because then, just like what happens with sabermetrics in the film, you get people 3 years later saying like, well, we tried housing first. It didn't work. So why are you guys still talking about housing first, right? We gotta have a punitive model for homelessness. And in reality, nobody tried it because there was these people obstructing the implementation of it.
Sort of the global communism problem, right? Of like if a couple countries decide to have a different economic system, it's actually really hard to make that work when the rest of the world is saying, we're not doing that. And also we're going to actively try to ruin your experiment.
And if we're talking about price being this thing that is sort of worshipped as like the great equalizer or the optimizer, but in this case, for example, we have Venezuela, whose oil we just bought at market value after coupping their president, despite the fact that their president had previously been offering us oil at market value, right? So there's absolutely like an ideological bent and long-term goals that have nothing to do with the optimization of oil pricing, right? In the sense of like, what we really want is control of this resource long-term. So we don't care about buying things at a level that will maybe actually bring down prices for consumers. What we care about is being able to invest in this like road to profit that we really care about.
I mean, and also so much of it is like venal and personal, and Trump apparently being mad about Maduro dancing or whatever. So I'm curious what you think about like what do we do about the kind of gap between statistical reasoning and like the proclivities of the human brain, like people don't like to think and also we're like literally bad at it. There's all those studies about how, the human brain can't really conceive of the difference between 100,000 and 100 million or whatever, because they're both really big numbers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I also think if we're talking about the shortcomings of something like economics, obviously, a huge part of it's just like unacknowledged premises about, well, this is the best way to do things. If you are assuming 5 other things about reality and about the way humans act and about what I assume has to be the case, in that case, my model is very predictive and in fact shows that communism or some version of socialism is totally impossible. And, I don't think economics is totally fake, although I think it's a fun thing to say because the people who do it take it so seriously and refuse to acknowledge that. But I'm not sure what the exact equivalent of it is. It's sort of like, well, it's like a reading of some aspect of history where you are saying, well, here's what could have happened. But your premises are, here's what could have happened, assuming that these 10 things were also the case. And I'm not saying that's valueless. It is valuable to say, like, given these specific circumstances that I am going to sort of demand we assume are the case. But like you're saying, the issue is that we have to find this weird middle ground where we're saying, okay, what principles do we really want to operate on? And what do we want to encourage people to think about? And then how do we use data to help optimize that? And that's very, very difficult. I was reading a study just this week about like free fares for buses. And specifically, it was like this very in-depth investigation that these people had done. I wish I could shout out the researchers, but I don't recall them, where they were in Chicago and they were doing an analysis of sort of like optimizing both price and the flow of traffic and the flow of people and the experience of people based on subsidizing different types of transportation, either private transportation or public transportation in the form of like discounted fares, free fares, whatever, charging people who are driving, doing what we do now, which is like subsidizing gas. So basically like encouraging driving, and what would create what they sort of acknowledged as the most good. And what they came up with was not only should they make the fares for Chicago free in this set of circumstances, but actually they should be slightly negative. Like you should be paying people sometimes to take public transportation, because that is how much by incentivizing like that type of behavior, you're actually creating more of a flow. It's better for the environment, whatever. Right. But I think your question is sort of like, well, how do we do that? How do we convince people? And also, given the fact that we can't do these things in isolation, right? The difficulty of this type of implementation is that it does require like collective political will and people being on board with projects. I mean, I wish I had an easy answer for that, but maybe if we're taking a message from the film, it is that part of your job has to be choosing or trying this enough times that you end up with an object lesson that shows people some piece of what you're trying to say, right? Because it will fail sometimes and you will run up against obstacles, but either finding the scale at which it works in a way that maybe will help people understand, or finding, just like the right alignment of situations that will allow you to show it off. Because, I mean, the reality is that, sometimes you are going to try for housing first and people are going to sabotage it. And that doesn't mean that you should give up, but it also means that maybe you should be looking for ways that you can demonstrate this through like a multiplicity of options. I don't know what that looks like exactly, but what do you think?
I mean, it's a lot of what we're seeing, or what we're about to watch happen in New York with Mayor Zoran Mamdani.
Right.
A bunch of ambitious ideas that
a lot of eggs in a basket.
Yeah, he wants to implement that require like the coordination and cooperation of a bunch of people who are like primary stakeholders in this not happening that way.
Like the governor of New York, for example. Yeah.
Yeah. And also this like cabal of ghouls who keep just like saying they have footage of him crashing one of the planes into the Twin Towers or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's also an obstacle. People just absolutely making things up.
Yeah, people making shit up. I mean, I was thinking about, this movie has a big room full of really old guys who don't know what's going on. That there's these funny lines like, "Who's Fabio?" He's the shortstop for Seattle. And then you have what I think is a really like telling line that made me think about Pete Buttigieg, and made me think about Beto O'Rourke, made me think about a million people, which is when all the scouts are talking about who they like, and Billy Beane says, "If he's a good hitter, how come he doesn't hit good?"
Yeah. Yep.
And like, this sort of disconnect between whatever horse sense, people who claim to be seers. One of whom is actually a kind of a baseball sabermetrics guy, Nate Silver, who was right one time and still gets to like pontificate, even though he's been wrong a million more times.
Yep.
But it made me think about, we still have all these old ghouls who say things have to work this way. That's how we've always done it. Mm-hmm. I have 80 years of experience being a bad senator.
Right. Or a manager at my company. I've seen how lazy people can be if you don't have a profit motive for them.
Right. Exactly. When we give people, one guy abused his PTO once, so we can't give it to anybody because one guy abused it. And like, on the one hand, all I want is for people to try new stuff. I talk about this with my dad all the time, but he'll ask, I'll be suggesting things could run differently, and he'll say, well, like, how would you do things, or what should we do instead? And I'm like, well, there's people have been coming up with ideas for decades. We just have to give them a shot. Just like try one of them. Why do I have to come up with stuff? There are people who've been working at this for 50 years who have like really good ideas for alternative crime prevention or violent incident prevention, for example, or good ideas for we mentioned, we've been joking about Finland, but I believe it's Finland where first of all, Finland has this like baby care box program that is highly regarded
definitely
providing free resources to new parents. That is apparently like really effective and not, fairly simple,
like universal, not means tested for a specific group that applies and gets approved, but just like if you have a baby, you get this box. That's like a little bed, and there's diapers, and there's I forget what else, food.
Because like people having children is good for a society in all kinds of ways, and reducing burdens on them.
And part of that is like reinforcing just a virtue, like a principle that we should care about other people. And part of it is like practically, like you're saying, investing in people. The ROI on that, if you want to be nasty, like is in fact still worth it if you're just saying like just give these people free stuff.
And I think it's also Finland where employers are responsible for their employees' transit time to work. And so their both private and public transit infrastructure is really fucking good because they don't want people to have to be driving an hour and a half to work if they're going to have to pay them for an hour and a half.
Right.
All of a sudden you've got rapid transit that's real good because
or housing that's built up 20 minutes where people work. Yeah.
Exactly. But then I was also just thinking about like race science guys and how statistics can be used in all kinds of nefarious ways. And like, we do have to acknowledge these intangibles. We can't think about people as ROI because like that's Skynet thinking, right? That's the best way to save the planet is to kill everybody on it, which, you know, I fantasize about sometimes, but there's a reason I don't act on it. And like, you know, this is a business. They are thinking about these guys' bodies in terms of how much value they can generate with their bodies in the limited time until they're too old or whatever. And it made me think about like eugenics, you know, like how do you statistically quantify the value that someone with a disability that prevents them from working provides as like a family member or a neighbor or a poet or, you know, someone who leaves sesame seeds out for a local bird.
Yeah.
You know, that's hard to quantify without, you know, a giant Jorge Luis Borges model of the world that accidentally recreates it entirely.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is hard to quantify. And, you know, if you're talking about this, first of all, I did get distracted briefly imagining this beautiful Mancunian woman who's just wandering around picking up sesame seeds. What's she doing? What's her life like?
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Is she well fit?
She's well fit. Yeah, she's just a lovely person. Also, I think
sounds like it.
But you're talking about
Dolores.
Exactly. Yeah, a disabled person or a person with a disability who may not be contributing to the economy in conventionally recognizable ways, but also, as is often the case, disability activists will tell you many of these people would like to be working on the terms that are possible for them, even in sort of like unappealing ways, right? If I've heard disability activists say like, you know, I would be happy to be on a factory line if I could sit down and do it for half-hour periods where I could take a break. Like it's not like they're just asking to be the anime appraiser in the new utopia where like, you know, they would just get the job that is entirely convenient. People in general, maybe not as a rule, but in general, like to have a sense of contributing to the functioning society, particularly when it is a society which turns around and pays those dividends back to them, right? That's a huge piece of what we're imagining. And
treats them as human beings while they're doing the work rather than as ungrateful swine that should be happy they're getting, they have like a window in the building. And like, what do you mean you need air conditioning?
Yeah, because we're not imagining a perfect utopia. Your job would still be difficult sometimes, but imagine how much more you would like your job if at least you could vote on something. Sometimes it wouldn't go your way. Sometimes people would want to have a pizza party and you don't like pizza that much, but you know, imagine, wouldn't you be happier to show up to work if you were working like 5 or 6 hour days and you had a window and you had air conditioning and you felt like the direction of the company was one that you had a say in, even a very fractional say?
And if you could say to your boss, look, I have a medical thing. It's uncomfortable for me to talk about. I'd rather not explain it, but I need to go to the doctor today. It's an emergency. And the boss is like, by all means, don't worry about it. Like just that basic level. Or like I'm having a plumbing problem. I know I'm out of, I know I was just out last week, and your boss is like, totally get it. You know?
Yeah.
Like
maybe I'm being naive, but I really would like to believe you would be less likely to lie if you were happier at work, right? You would be you wouldn't be making up plumbing problems as people do now because their work is miserable and your boss is your like active enemy in life.
Right.
Every decision he makes decides the future of your financial stability. I like to imagine that is possible, and there are many ways that we could experiment with this, like beginning tomorrow. It would not have to be post-revolution. Right. I think there are transitional things that we could do. But to answer your earlier question, I mean, this is maybe boring old guy stuff, but I would like to maybe encourage all people to have to take statistics courses in high school. Maybe like that's one small step, just to say, okay, here's how you can actually examine data. Here's how you can identify biases and like experimental design problems. So if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, look at how many Somalian migrants have committed crimes.
Right.
And they could give you a real statistic, but you could say, okay, but what are you comparing it to? What is the frame of reference, right? Are we comparing it to the number of crimes committed by Native people? Are we comparing it to the number of crimes committed by Native people in the same income category? In which case,
yes.
Maybe it's telling us the story is actually we should be trying to boost people on the like the bottom quintile or whatever of income, because that may be where the problem is coming from.
Exactly. Yeah, I do want to talk about baseball labor stuff. Wait, I had a thought.
Cesarean section. That's a little baseball that somebody's taking out.
I'm sorry.
Hey, look, I'm sorry too.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, isn't anybody?
Well, baseball, as we know, originated in ancient Egypt as form of
one of the biggest teas that you can imagine. Those
fertility ceremony where the first castrated bull of the season, they would throw the testicle in the air and hit it with a polished femur.
Is that true?
And they would yell,
is any of this true?
Play ball. No, that's true. I made the whole thing up.
I mean, it definitely originated with
Civil War or something.
Well, sure, though. I mean, but you're right in saying that it definitely originated with one guy hitting something with a stick and saying, like, that was crazy.
Like,
did you?
Whoa. Hey, what the fuck? Yeah. I mean, there's also obviously in this story to Soderbergh, we know he's always looking at the film industry and looking for inefficiencies, market inefficiencies, looking for ways to just help it catch up to the times or do things more cheaply. Obviously,
or the stories that are being ignored about people.
Yeah. But even just on a level of like the day and date release of The Girlfriend Experience,
definitely. All the Mark Cuban stuff we've talked about.
The Mark Cuban stuff he's talked about how there should be, by Friday whether a movie's going to have a good theatrical run or not.
Yep.
There should just be a button that puts it on demand immediately. And then we did see that. We did get to kind of see this as with a skewed experiment when Warner Brothers started doing day and date on all of their movies in 2020 and into 2021. And like, we now have all this data about how a theatrical release it increases digital sales because the movie seems real or whatever. Bill Gabiri, friend of the show, has written about this.
Absolutely. Wonderful piece.
So we just have to we have to acknowledge that things are real. We have to acknowledge that we are always learning how the world works better than we understood it before.
Yep.
And that old guys don't fucking know everything. Yep. And there's currently a baseball labor thing going on.
There certainly is. Yeah.
It's a weird labor situation where like some of the guys who are on the right side, some of the guys that we agree with happen to be making $700 million. But, like Shohei Ohtani. But right now, baseball is the only major sports league in the United States that does not have a salary cap. And the salary cap, that sounds great, right? No, it doesn't apply to the owners. It doesn't apply to management. The salary cap means it's a an upper limit to how much players can be paid. It's a way to basically artificially cartel style just limit the wages of workers by management. Am I right here?
Yeah, I think you're right. Although if we're going to fairly represent the egalitarian argument for the salary cap, it is sometimes used to try to address the problems we were discussing before, right? Like a small market team will never be able to pay. Here's how out of date my references are, like David Ortiz or whatever, right? Like Jeter, all the guys who are big in Major League Baseball right now. They can't pay them the salaries that the New York Yankees can. So how would they ever win a season, basically, right? And I think there is an argument to saying, like, if we're trying to make baseball a sport where any of these teams can actually try to win, which again, owners of teams don't care about winning. That's not where they make their money. But if we're imagining that that's part of the appeal of a sport in general, if we're comparing it to something like the Olympics, is that like people have the opportunity to succeed, then these unlimited salaries seem unappealing, right? It seems unappealing that this is possible to do, because how would you ever compete? But as you're saying, the problem is this is something that is weaponized by Major League Baseball franchise owners to be able to say, okay, great, let's put a limit on how much we have to pay these guys. I hate paying guys. That's one of the things I hate the most.
Right. There's something called the luxury tax. Technically, it's called it has a formal name, but basically it means teams can spend, if they spend more than a certain amount on their players. So if you're the New York Yankees and or the Dodgers, I think the Dodgers spend the most money in the league. If you spend above a certain amount, you basically have to pay a penalty.
I think it's 2 or 3 times as much as you are paying above the amounts, right? It sounds significant that goes back into the like Major League Baseball pool.
Right. Where they're doing matrix moves in there. But
Matrix League Baseball. Whoa.
Holy shit. There is no Todd Gonzalez. So
it's a joke for like 9.
What's going on right now is that the collective bargaining agreement between the ownership and the Major League Baseball Players Association is expiring on December 1st of 2026. And they are currently pursuing a salary cap, the owners. And the players don't want that. And the owners can do what's called a lockout, where they basically say, well, you can't play any games and thus you can't get paid until you agree to our demands. This
is something that happens in other industries. It's like a management strike, basically.
Right. And there's a weird decision by the Supreme Court in 1922. Do you know about this?
I don't think I do.
Oliver Wendell Holmes. Justice Holmes
I do know
said
about
that
this. Yeah.
Baseball does not affect interstate commerce and is therefore not subject to federal antitrust laws. Oliver Wendell Holmes called it, quote, a purely state affair, and said that the fact that teams have to cross state lines is mere incident. So basically it's enshrined in like U.S. law that baseball can be a cartel, you know, where there's like whatever. How many teams are there? 30 something?
This is where people are going to realize we don't know anything about baseball. There's
30 something teams. There's 30 something owners who get to decide. They get to decide, you know, basically everything about how these guys work, how much they get paid. And also we see it in the movie. Like, we're kind of supposed to be cheering for somebody saying unceremoniously, hey, you just moved here, but we're sending you somewhere else in order to try to get a minor league guy who like can't hit for shit, but because of weird mysterious factors ends up getting on base a lot.
Well, look, I'm going to concede that maybe this is not intentional, but I don't know if I would say that the movie is entirely trying to get us to cheer for this. I actually think this is where the movie also succeeds in embodying some of these weird contradictions, because I think it's uncomfortable when we watch Pena or any of these guys, you know, Pena who is like succeeding and doing his best to carry the team, getting sold to the Tigers, whoever he gets sold to, because there's sort of like inter-office squabble, and Art Howe isn't playing the team like Billy Beane wants him to play the team. So I also think the film highlights the reverse side, right? Which is a sort of, I don't want to actually end up making an argument for why sweatshops are good for Bangladesh or something, but there's the moment where we see Scott Hatterberg and his family after Beane has just come and offered him a contract, and they just have like a little family hug, and I think it's a very sweet moment where we're saying, this is like, these are humans who are involved in all this, and if we're
right.
returning all the way back to the Volcker discussion, not to say that sometimes you have to make crazy macroeconomic decisions, but that is sometimes what is forgotten by people. It's like, well, when you are fighting for greater unemployment because the economy is overheating, what you are saying is, well, I want more people to be out of a job because it's going to suppress wages for the people who do have jobs. And will that maybe affect prices in a way that's positive for people? Yes, but also that's millions of people who are now in a condition of desperation that you like actively made a decision to create, right? So I think that's
right.
That's part of what you're talking about, right? And I believe we've had this discussion when we talked about NBA lockouts for reasons that I no longer recall. Why did this ever come up in the course of our podcast?
I don't know. We'll talk about it again on High Flying Bird, I'm sure.
Okay. But we talked about the fact that, I think we agree that, first of all, there should be a salary floor, because that's the type of thing that I think is we support.
I think there is, but I think it's really low.
Okay.
But technically, I believe there is one.
That's also what I've heard in the context of these salary cap discussions is like, well, having a salary cap would make it easier to have a higher salary floor because it might encourage the managers or the team owners to be paying people like a dignified wage, even if they're not huge contributors to the team or like big names or something. But if you're saying boohoo, these people make $7.5 million a year, well, I agree with you that that's too much money, but we're also talking about these billionaires who are reaping tens of millions, hundreds of millions.
More.
So you're right in saying that they're the ones who should be taxed so aggressively that this is like just totally impossible for them. And then maybe the players would end up making a wage that is reasonable, but they should still be negotiating for a greater percentage of the profits because, like, on principle, that's, I think, what you're trying to say, right? These are the workers creating value. And
it's a high profile story of labor action that a lot of regular people would be looking at, might feel inspired by.
Yep.
Same with, like, we saw there was like the NBA kind of wildcat strike when COVID was just jumping off, that I think was a major catalyst in getting people to take COVID more seriously, COVID. Wait, the wildcat strike was actually in response to George Floyd, I think. There was a lot of NBA, but there was a lot of NBA labor action in 2020, is what I'm saying. And it has major cultural and political effects.
Yeah. Just in illustrating the power of labor to demand change.
Yeah, exactly. I want to point people to this article on N+1 by Mac Basham and Joshua Judd Porter called "An Established Aberration on the Proposed MLB Salary Cap," which was just very instructive to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand a lot of this stuff. And it's where I learned that Shohei Ohtani is going to make $700 million over 10 years.
Yeah.
He is, from all accounts, like a generational Michael Jordan level created by God to play baseball type of guy.
This is what I've heard. Yeah.
But that just goes to show that, like, we only know how to appreciate stuff like that by giving it an absurd amount of money.
Yeah.
And look, like, the film it ends on this kind of this I think Too Cute by Half Sorkin-y It's a Metaphor scene where Peter Brandt shows Billy Beane this tape of like a minor league player or a farm league player who's doesn't realize he's hit a home run and has to be told to, celebrate. It's, you don't know what a victory you've had, Mr. Bean.
Yes.
They call him Mr. Bean a bunch. It's great. And at this point he says some the line about how can you not be romantic about baseball is repeated.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think there's also, there is some value in these stories of triumph, these stories, this baseball, sports as metaphor for other things, sports as metaphor for how we live and experience things. which is why I think my movie of 2025 is the film Ephus. I think that is
I was so happy. I am so happy. I was just waiting for us to get to Ephus.
Yeah,
do you want to tell people?
About Ephus.
This
is a film by Carson Lund about two rec league baseball teams, just guys doing this to do it, who are playing the last game that'll ever be played at this field in New England that's going to be turned into a school.
Yes.
So kind of value neutral, like just a thing going away. It's not like it's turning into condos. It's just, things happen.
Yep.
And the interactions and conflicts and friendships and little things that go on between them over the course of a single baseball game.
It's, it's incredible the way that it's shot. Frederick Wiseman features as a narrator in the film, and a lot of it is drawing from his sort of like objective analysis as maybe being the most humanistic analysis, right? Just like bearing witness to people without romanticism actually allows like what's special about them to shine through more, because you don't have to gild what's already very special. And the sequencing of the film is just kind of like this unending stream of little vignettes like between people. Sometimes there's things happening on the field, and a lot of it's in the dugout. Some of it is like fans of the rec league. There's a wonderful character.
There's a couple of the old guy.
Yeah,
the old guy's wonderful. There's some like skater kids who are just sort of watching.
Right, well, not even kids. They're like 30.
Greek chorus.
Yeah.
And it's so much of it. The movie is about the passage of time, literal.
It's also
the course of a day,
incredibly shot as day falls into night. Just like
from everything I've read, filming and blocking and recording the sound on this movie was like
technical achievement,
just an incredible achievement. Technically, yeah.
Yep.
And it's also just so much about like doing things for the sake of doing them.
Mm-hmm.
At a certain point, they have to like the lights have been turned off for the season, so they have to figure out how to play once the sun starts going down, and like they're arguing about whether to just stop playing or whether to keep going.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil, because not that like it's a plot heavy movie, but it is just like speaks to this sort of like ingenuity for the sake of something that people have just decided is important to them. Like it has no social standing. Yeah. Something I love in the film is sort of like the families and girlfriends and people who come to watch and are sort of like trying to understand what it means to the people who are playing this game. The like two old people.
It's great. And there's like a moment where a guy has to basically reconceive of himself
for like the first time in his life, maybe.
As a relief pitcher. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, no. I was talking about Franny becoming
Franny. They basically like they don't have enough guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the sort of structurally, narratively, it's so far from dramatically. It's so far from Moneyball, and also thematically, like it's about baseball as pastime, literally, rather than as business. And highly recommend it if it sounds at all interesting to you. I don't think about baseball very much at all, and after this movie, I immediately decided I needed to go to a batting cage, and so Ian and I went to the batting cages.
And look, I'll be the one to step in here and say, Jake really performed at the batting cage. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was so fun to watch him just discover something about himself. It isn't that the power of sports.
I think I kind of have an aptitude for like after work games. Like I'm like decent at pool and darts.
Yep.
Not like good. I'm just decent, mini golf I'm okay at. Maybe I could have had an aptitude maybe I could have had a real skill if I developed it. That's something I'm not good at, is developing a skill. But I think I generally don't embarrass myself at stuff like that. I've never tried axe throwing. I'd like to.
Sure. Like, it would be nice. Could be our last episode.
Yeah. Sort of a duel.
That's what 30 paces. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do we have any?
Well, the only thing I'm going
to
argue with you about is the fact that obviously Ephus is a very, very different film, interested in very different types of questions. But I don't know that I would say it has nothing in common with this film, because it is still interested in how does something like a children's game, as they say in Moneyball, how does it become this representative object that we imbue with more meaning, and yet that's not something crazy. I think neither film is condescending to that as like, well, it's ridiculous that there's so much contention about something that is ultimately like, not that much more serious than darts, but is not imbued with the same thing. But in fact,
right.
part of humans' like sociality is to decide on things that we care about, and then to sort of decide how do we want to conduct those things. And I think if there is an argument for like maintaining the romanticism of some of these things, the argument is that, well, it's important to us because we decided it's important to us, and we should care about the rules because we should try to make it the best version of that thing that we have all decided that we care about, right? Even if it's not something that will ever be important to the maintenance of like the material upstanding of our world.
Yeah. And I think there's just something interesting in simulating about trying to figure out the best way to win within a set of arbitrary constraints. I think that's just that's enrichment for the enclosure.
Yeah. It's enrichment for the apes. Yeah.
For the human enclosure. Yeah. Soderbergh last year watched an absolute fuckload of tennis. So maybe there's a tennis film in his future. Maybe he just got really into tennis. He also, as usual, watched a bunch of stand-up specials and read Louis C.K.'s book. So there's certain things I don't know if he's going to do anything with them as much as he's just logging what his interests are. But I actually haven't seen. Have you seen High Flying Bird?
I have not. No.
Yeah, I haven't seen the sports film that did get made. It's also about the business of sports. It's like a basketball agent, I think. So I'm interested to see where that shows up. And yeah, I mean, I think his Moneyball would have been interesting. I think Moneyball, as we got it, is an airplane classic.
Definitely.
If the town sounds too stressful, you can put on Moneyball instead. Well,
and look, these films have a special place in my heart. There's something great about this.
Yeah.
You shared with me a little screenshot of a bit from the script that sadly didn't make it into the final film, but I think it's also representative of what movies can mean to people in trying circumstances.
Are you talking about the thing I sent you most recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the final film, Jason Giambi is playing like tear the roof off the sucker or something.
Kind of a
like
shithead, yeah.
Yeah, or Jeremy Giambi rather. And this is what prompts Billy Bean to get mad about why are you celebrating a loss, which that's also like a kind of a scary boss moment.
Yep.
But in the script, in Soderbergh's script, he has interior Oakland Coliseum locker room later. Jeremy Giambi has his DVD of Happy Gilmore playing on a TV, and he isn't the only one watching it. So,
yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, in the original Alien Draft, Jeremy Giambi is basically always watching The Natural. I wonder if it was a rights thing or something that they ended up going with generic party song Volume 1.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, like you said, I think we could restart the podcast right now, have an entirely different conversation about Moneyball, because I think it is kind of a perfect metaphor, but I think that's good for now. I think we'll let it ride.
I had a good time talking about it.
Can we get some other stats?
You want to hear about some stuff that happened?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so let's head on into the Pinecone Crime Zone.
Okay.
Attention, scumbag. You are now entering the Pinecone Crime Zone. No, you can't see my badge number.
This is the Pinecone Crime Zone from September 23rd, 2011. This is the day the film was released. After playing TIFF, or the New York Film Festival or something, like a week prior. So it's a more recent Pinecone Crime Zone. Not as much crazy shit, although there is a column called Sandy Claus by Lisa Crawford Watson. Headline, Beach Bird.
That's a good headline.
Pelicans, seagulls, and other shorebirds are common sights at Carmel Beach. So common they're often hardly noticed, but when a royal blue hyacinth macaw swoops onto the sand, people and their pets pay attention. Not yet 2 years old.
That is so true.
Yeah, Tulku is a rare and endangered Tibetan parrot who was born in Brazil, rescued in the San Francisco Bay Area, and roosts in Carmel. His name means the one who gets to choose his own reincarnation, which some believe he may have already achieved.
That's awesome. Hey, sorry to nitpick, but do we say bird claws?
Oh, yeah. Talons, you mean?
Yeah, I guess.
No, I think claws.
You're right.
And I think
you're right. I'm the asshole here.
Sandy claws, I think, I assume this is a animals on the beach column, generally.
Oh, wow. You think this is like a regular feature?
It looks like it.
Okay.
Well, it goes on to say that he's been known to cause canine commotion while parading upon his person's shoulder along the beach. Interestingly, his full name is Tulku, and they call him Took, which are basically two words from Avatar, and he's blue.
That is interesting.
And I just want to say, on occasion, he disappears, most often to be found atop a tree, stuck like a cat, until the fire department, tree trimmer, or anyone else who isn't afraid of heights climbs up to carry him back to the ground.
Wow.
So he's being a little bastard, and I like that.
Yeah, me too.
Let's move on to the sheriff's log.
Okay,
Carmel by the Sea. A citizen found a loose dog in the county area and brought it to the Carmel Police Department for safekeeping. The dog was found to belong to a part-time resident and owner of another dog brought to the station.
Whoa.
The dog was returned to the owner with a warning. So I initially misread this and thought they had made a typo and said that the dog owned another dog. But I'm understanding now that it's just sort of a bad sentence and says the dog was found to belong to an owner of another dog.
Yes. Which is also weird to point out. I'm not sure the importance of the fact that this person has more than one dog. Just saying this guy can't
keep track of his dogs.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Carmel by the Sea. Sorry, this is in Pacific Grove.
Okay.
Fire EMS dispatched to a man who cut his hand. Subject stated his hand exploded. Located large amount of blood splatter and scissors in bathroom. Placed on 72-hour hold. But
okay.
My hand exploded.
Yeah. I hope his hand they were able to unexplode his hand for him.
Yeah. Usually you're using your hand to explode other stuff, and there's a lot of blood splatter.
Sometimes.
And scissors. I actually have a question for you as an agriculture expert.
Okay.
Big Sur, resident reported that an unknown subject stole oranges and avocados from trees on her property. Total loss estimated at $420.
You're wondering if that's possible? It's definitely possible.
How much is it? How long would it take to harvest $420 worth of? Yeah. And like bushels.
This is not,
right?
Yeah, this would be bushels. This would be crates full of this stuff, particularly the avocados, probably where most of the value is.
And then you have to fence them, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's the great difficulty because they're not well tracked avocados, but.
Sure.
I mean, this is a problem.
Filing off the serial number.
Where like people will come and steal products from other people, and that's kind of an issue, particularly in subsistence farming. But it's also a weird irony where in subsistence farming, people are way more likely to just tell you like, "Hey, yeah, it's fine. Just like go take a bunch of pecans. I don't care." Yeah.
I mean, I've walked down many a Los Angeles residential street where someone's like free lemons.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they have a lemon tree that overproduced.
Right.
Anyway. Pacific Grove, coin boxes of multiple machines were broken into and more than $2,000 in quarters stolen overnight from a Lighthouse Avenue business.
Oh.
Somebody's going to the arcade. Maybe it's that kid who tried to cash the check.
Yeah, he's grown up. Now he's realized there's untraceable ways to do what he wants to do.
In the fucking late 70s or whatever.
Or it's like Paul Newman at the beginning of Cool Hand Luke where he's going and cutting the heads off. That's like
decapitating
talking about disruption. You see that and you're like, I just didn't even think about that being possible. But of course you can do that. Why wouldn't you be able to?
Of course they're in there.
Yeah.
That was another thing where like, I guess I was maybe imagining
it's like watching somebody cut open
the
sea. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of the sea, Carmel by the Sea.
Hey.
A female reported a violation of a restraining order when she was approached by her ex-boyfriend at a party. After a records check, it was determined that he has a restraining order against her.
Oh.
The female subject has not completed the court filing for a counter order against him. She was advised to avoid all contact with her ex-boyfriend.
Okay. This sounds like a messy situation. Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to make sure that you know what your record situation is before you call the police.
Definitely want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Monday, September 12th, that's my birthday. And we have, I think for the first time, a very important type of entry here in the Pinecone Crime Zone. Carmel by the Sea, report of property damage to the top right portion of a vehicle hood surface from a falling pine cone. Someone called the police on a pine cone.
Well, we finally achieved. This is like nominative determinism. It's come to fruition, completed.
Yes, we've reached the nucleus of the zone.
Yeah, that's really, really crazy.
Why would you want somebody? Do you want the owner of the tree
I guess
to
that's
pay
what it
for
is.
your?
Yeah, that's so silly, man. Come on.
But also, like, how big is that? I mean, I've seen some big pine cones, I guess, but like the top right portion of the hood,
maybe
that's force majeure, dude. That's not even the windshield. Just get it.
Maybe this is just built into humans, and I'm being idealistic and imagining that if you had all of your basic needs met, you'd be less likely to like want to bring a tree to court. But I guess I hope that it would be like a 50% reduction. There would still be weirdos who would be saying that, you know, your tree destroyed my life. But I do think if you weren't worrying about healthcare, like it was impossible to go into medical debt, I think you would say like, you know what, it's fine, whatever.
Yeah, getting yourself. You're at the tree trial, and they can't fill the jury because they're all connected by a mycelium network.
Yeah, it's just overstory too. Yeah,
people who listen to that one Radio Lab. That's a joke for you.
Yep. Richard Separation of Powers. I don't know. Just trying to find something. Richard Powers, the guy who wrote the book about the trees all being connected and talking to each other.
Oh, Dick Powers.
Yeah, I guess that's true too.
Wow. Furry of his peers? I mean, that just sounds like furry, which is a different kind of thing. Yeah, it
does. That's confusing. I'm sorry.
Jury of his pears? It's like pear trees, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll work on it.
Okay.
We're going to work on this. We're going to figure this out by the next episode. That's a promise. Yeah. Thank you for listening to our episode on Moneyball. We'll be back next week with a main feed episode. We'll be back here on the Patreon in 2 weeks' time. We appreciate you listening. And what's a funny line? Oh, I liked when he said you are outside your mind.
Yeah, me too.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, all-timer in this. We didn't even talk about it.
We didn't even talk about it. I think he somehow intolened his head for this movie, but it really worked.
He did. You put it in a vice to kind of stretch it out.
Yeah, I mean, the movie just has funny lines. It's when they're going to recruit Hatterberg, and Billy Bean says, like, we can teach you how to play first base. It's not that hard. The
other guy's like, it's incredibly
hard. And then he says, anything worth doing is. I mean, it's just like a nice bit of patter.
That was the most Rusty Ryan scene in the movie to me.
Definitely.
Of Pitt's performance. And I think a little microcosm of like maybe the problem with the Soderbergh approach is that you get to that scene where they talk to Hatterberg is mostly unchanged. It is like Christmas in his house and he's waiting for a call.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Zalian and then Sorkin drafts, they're like, are you going to let us in? And he's like, what? I'm like, we're outside.
Yeah.
And in the Soderbergh draft, Billy Bean stays on the phone because he didn't go there. So you can't put it in the movie because it didn't happen. But now we're watching a guy take a phone call, you know? Yep. So something to think about.
Something to think about, writers.
We'll leave you something to chew on as you go home from the episode.
Hey,
I hope you liked my new microphone. Bye.
I loved it. Bye.